Daft Punk with Random Access Memories. Okay, so most of my subscribers know me as a metalhead, as you can see by my posters in the back, but I figured I'd cover something non-metal for today. I understand I'm a bit late with this release, considering this came out last May, and I'm reviewing it right now in August, but I figured I get started on it because I've actually shown quite a bit of interest in it lately, and I figured I'd pick it up and let's see how it did. So I have to say I really wasn't expecting much from this release. I figured since Daft Punk being like a big mainstream band and all, I barely listened to the radio if at all for a while now. But I remember hearing Get Lucky, and I figured that kind of left an annoying aftertaste, even though I kind of liked it. Like whenever I was listening to the song, even though it left sort of a weird, like, annoying aftertaste, so I kind of figured it'd be just another kind of meh mainstream release, but then I started, like, sampling some of the other songs in the album, like Instant Crush, and, what's another one, like, Give Life Back to Music, The Game of Love, and all that, and I started to get a little bit more intrigued. One of the first things that I really noticed about this release, or at least like the grand majority of it, is like the late 70s, early 80s sort of drawback to that sort of disco, like new wave sound. Some of the artists that come to mind are like Kraftwerk, the Alan Parsons Project, the Doobie Brothers, Depeche Mode, the Bee Gees. I can name a whole ton of influences I heard in there. I think maybe a bit of Duran Duran, just stuff like that, like the stuff you would have heard like in the late 70s, early 80s, like that sort of disco, new romantic, new wave style that I've grown to really appreciate as like a guilty pleasure. And indeed, this is a very refreshing blend of like jazz, disco, new wave, funk, and modern electronic music that you would hear from today, basically. And like when I was listening to this album, it feels like an album that I would expect to hear from like the late 70s, early 80s, but with just a more modern flavor. And one little touch that I literally just noticed right now is that it actually kind of looks like the handwriting for the Thriller album. I wonder if this is like the same artist or same sort of handwriting or whatever that I noticed from like the Thriller album. So that's actually a little subtle touch that I literally just noticed right now, actually, just looking at it. That kind of looks like the handwriting that you would see on the Thriller album. So yeah, definitely, I could definitely sense a good deal of Michael Jackson influence in here too. And because this is a drawback to that late 70s, early 80s sound, they actually used vintage, like, analog production on this album, and my god, this is one of the best produced albums, engineered albums that I've heard all year. The mastering is very smooth on the ears, like, you can listen to the entire album very comfortably all the way through without having to mess with the volume meter too much. This is something I would expect from, like, Steven Wilson, but I'm getting it out of like a mainstream band like Daft Punk. This is something that was actually quite unexpected. I would have expected the same compressed, digitized sound that I would expect from like Black Eyed Peas and Lady Gaga. But here's Daft Punk like using more vintage production, and it's very clear sounding. I mean, and this is better sounding production than some of the metal albums I've heard this year, like Amorphous and Queensryche, even though those albums were really good. I have to admit, Loudness War was definitely a big issue with those albums, and they were definitely very hard on the ears. But just listening to this, it's very crisp, it's very warm, and you can hear every little detail throughout the entire album, which is a very huge plus. This is one of the best produced albums I've heard in a while, other than like any of Steven Wilson's releases, who, you know, you pretty much expect to have a very warm, crisp production because, you know, he's Steven Wilson. But here's a more accessible band like Daft Punk just doing the same thing, which is just awesome. And I have to admit, the songwriting here is actually really good. I really like songs such as "The Game of Love." It's very atmospheric and it's very keyboard driven, but still got a very nice vibe with it. Within's a very nice piano ballad, and I really like Instant Crush. I thought I wasn't really gonna like that one, and Giorgio by Miordor. I thought the speech at the beginning, like when I was first sampling it, I thought it was gonna sound out of place, but it actually flows really well with the music. Um, Giorgio's Giorgio's speech or narration throughout the song, really. But yeah, it actually fits really well. And I have to admit, some of the longer songs can feel a tad repetitive, like Giorgio by Miordor. But I mean, I'm not saying any of them are bad or anything like that. Like every song on here, I think is really good. Although Contact, I think maybe with repeated listens it might get better, but I don't know. Contact just it ended on sort of a weird note. I thought if I have to make a metal comparison, it kind of reminded me of Agaloc's "Our Fortress is Burning" Part 3 off of Ashes Against the Grain, where the last minute or so of Contact was kind of weird. It wasn't really all that. I mean, I'm not begging for melody or anything like that. I mean, but I don't know. I guess I'm just nitpicking here. I think with repeated listens, I might be able to like it more. But I don't know. Sort of a letdown of a closer. I sort of underwhelmed with the closer Contact, which is an instrumental. I'm not complaining because it's an instrumental. It left me wanting more at the end. Let's just say that. Um, Touch is a very peculiar track. When you listen to the introduction of that song, it sort of sounds like it's about to eat you or something like that. It seems very it feels like it's just getting louder and louder. It's just a very strange introduction. Then you go into the more it turns into a disco song, or it turns into a more disco-y beat, and then after that it goes into a John Lennon sort of verse. I forget the lyrics. I guess you could remind me, but it sort of reminds me of uh, something John Lennon would write. It's a very diverse track, and yeah, it's just a very peculiar one. But I definitely like it a lot because of its just unusualness. That's I can't really put it any other way. It's just a very when I was listening to it, it feels like it'd be kind of disjointed, but it actually flows really well. Even though it has a sort of feeling like it'd be disjointed, it still kind of flows well. I know I'm basically saying an oxymoron here, but well, I think you'd sort of understand what I mean once you listen to the song. It's a very peculiar one. And despite the fact that there are moments of drag here and there, especially among the longer songs, this is still a very nice flowing album, especially for being over 70 plus minutes. Yeah, this is a long, long album. I think it's about 74 minutes or something if I have to give it my approximate guess. But yeah, it's a long one. So it's understandable that there be a few things of drag here and there. That's kind of what I got from the longer songs in general. But overall, they made it flow very well. I could still listen to this album from front to back just fine. I think with repeated listens, even some of those longer moments that kind of feel like that they drag out a bit, I think those could be padded out, and maybe this listening experience will feel even more whole, and it will just connect together even better for me. From what I get out of this album, I'd probably give it about an 8.5 out of 10, which, again, this is something I wasn't really expecting. This was actually a very nice surprise for me. I typically don't expect this much quality from, a more, mainstream poppy sort of sound, but this actually is a very nice drawback to the sort of, mainstream music that I do like. And, yeah, again, this is much appreciated in a scene where you just get auto-tune and computer digitized production and stuff, but for an album of this nature to do so well in today's environment, this is actually this might point the way towards a much more revitalized musical future, like in regards to mainstream, like Billboard 100 sort of music. Because I've listened to plenty of quality metal, like that you don't hear on the radio. Just check out all those posters in the back right there. Those bands are awesome. But in regards to like what I hear on the radio, this might point to a more brighter future because this actually did extremely well. I mean, this topped the charts in many countries, including the United States here, like over about 25 countries, I think. So yeah, this did extremely well this year. This is one of this year's like most successful albums. Many critics have praised it, and commercially speaking, it's one of the most successful albums of this year. It's like a smash hit, pretty much. So yeah, I'm hoping that this will point the way towards just better quality, like radio-friendly music. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about this album. Yeah, definitely pick it up if you like this kind of music. I understand my metalhead friends out there probably won't like it as much, but you know, I like to diversify every now and then and just pick up stuff that you know, a lot of my metalhead friends wouldn't really expect to get from me. But you know, I like nonetheless. Anyway, I'm just about done. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you like my videos, if you like this video, and if you want to check out more, be sure to subscribe in the, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and be sure to check out my Facebook page, like in the link in the description box for further updates and so forth. So, if you like any of my stuff, be sure to do that. And yeah, okay. Now I'll see you later.